As we progress as a 21st century society, sports often play a key role in social changes. Sun Sailor sports editor John Sherman believes that change needs to start at the high school level by opening a new frontier in co-ed sports. And he wants the Minnesota State High School League to hear his message loud and clear. Bringing intramural co-ed sports to a new competitive level, he believes that this is the next phase for high school athletics. With questions of how a program like this would remain competitive, fit into social norms, and intrigue new participants, John Sherman is here to shed light on how Minnesota can make this program successful. John, you've proposed some co-ed athletic programs for the high school, one being softball in the fall, bowling in the winter, and a co-ed volleyball in the spring. Why do you think these programs would be so important to introduce to high school students?
The one thing I see missing in the high school league program as it is now, Katia, is co-ed sports. I see co-ed sports succeeding for adults with volleyball, with bowling, with softball certainly, soccer. Some great sports programs that go on in the summer, the spring, the fall, even the winter with some broomball leagues being co-ed. And I just think it's kind of a last frontier for the high school league to add sports that will maybe bring more people into the programs and give more opportunities for athletes who might not be in the mainstream of varsity sports, although these would be varsity sports.
How would they be different than an intramural but still competitive in the varsity sense?
The way they'd be different is that I think girls' athletics is far enough along that girls have shown that they can compete at a high level. And at a high enough level in some sports, such as volleyball, such as softball, to play alongside the boys and be involved in the same games as the boys. I think it would be just a great addition. It would build some school spirit, certainly. It would bring new athletes into the program, such as bowlers, who are not generally varsity athletes right now. There are bowling programs at many of the schools. And I think to make that a varsity sport and make it co-ed would be tremendous. It would generate a lot of interest in schools. It would also bring kind of a new chapter into high school sports.
So are you saying that the competitiveness would bring in new followers and new enjoyers of the sports?
I think so, and there's already a big audience for the bowling leagues. I think for certainly co-ed volleyball, I'd go out and watch that.
What are the benefits of it being a varsity sport versus an intramural sport?
I think the benefits of it being a varsity sport such as volleyball or softball would be serious competition. It would be serious competition. You would represent your school rather than being one of, let's say, 8 or 16 teams representing your school. There would be a varsity level. There could also be a JV level, sophomore, 9th grade level, and even middle school programs in those sports if the school districts.
How could you, on a varsity level, how could you make sure that the starting team or the starting players weren't all one sex?
What it would be basically, Katia, is let's take softball for instance. You'd have 4 female players at one time and 5 male players, or for some innings you might have 5 female players on the field and 4 male players. You could do it that way. Certainly for bowling, you could do a 6-person team with 3 female players and 3 male players. And for volleyball, it would be 3 females and 3 males on the court at the same time. So the boys and girls would be interacting as they do in a lot of Phi Ed classes already, but this would be serious. It would be a varsity sport. Volleyball would be a big spectator sport. I'm sure bowling would be. And softball, probably. I think a lot of people would come out and watch that too.
Have you had a lot of people approach you about programs like this? What's the interest level like?
I think the strongest interest comes from the bowling community, but there are other groups that would like to see co-ed sports. I know Bloomington has had a co-ed high school boys and girls softball program for quite a few years. Co-ed volleyball, very popular in colleges. I was up at UMD a few years ago, and they had a Saturday morning league with three men and 3 women on the court at the same time, and it was tremendous to watch. I mean, the girls got in there and they were the women, I should say, and they were banging with the guys. I mean, they were spiking, they were digging, they were doing all the things that you do in the game, and they were playing on equal footing with the men.
How do you think this would fit in a high school setting where males and females are possibly uncomfortable around each other in their adolescent stage?
I think they're around each other in school all day anyway, and if you can be in a math class with someone of the opposite sex, or a science class or English, you can certainly be on an athletic field with somebody from the other gender. And I think that a lot of people would find this as a social thing too. Already the track teams, the cross-country teams, they train together during the season. So there is some interaction already. It's just not competing on the same field. And I think that would be an exciting new idea for the high school league to at least look at, maybe on an experimental basis at first.
Have you spoken with the Minnesota State High School League or taken any steps to create programs like this, or have any other supporters?
Well, the high school league knows how I feel about it, and I've received a lot of letters about this, emails, calls, people thinking it is a great idea.
What do you think are the steps that need to be taken to make things like this possible in the future?
I think athletic directors would first have to talk about this at their conference meetings. And the reason I'm not proposing games, there's 12 months a year of soccer already. Volleyball is a little bit the same way, but this might be a nice break from the club volleyball and the high school volleyball to try something different and include the guys in a volleyball league. I think that would be something to look at. Coaches can certainly take an initiative. This could be done on a trial basis, let's say by the 5 schools in the Lake Conference, the 8 schools in the Metro West Conference. They might just try one sport, see what the reaction is, see what the feedback is, get feedback from parents, get feedback from athletes, certainly from the coaches, maybe people in the community. And I think it would be easy to gauge right away whether it's good or bad. And my feeling is it would be good, because it's been so good at the adult levels for so many years. Almost every community offers co-ed softball. They have specific rules to make the competition equal from team to team. And certainly there's co-ed soccer out there. Co-ed bowling happens at just about every lanes in the Twin Cities.
Funding is always an important concern in the Minneapolis public schools. How would you address this concern?
I think the funding would be the same as it is for the other sports. There would be an athletic fee in most of the communities, and there would be subsidies for those who couldn't afford the athletic fees, just as there are for all the female and male sports right now.
All right. What about parents who are competitive with their children? Nowadays, people are very supportive of them, but they also want their kids to be, quote, superstars. Do you think that kids who maybe haven't excelled in other mainstream sports would benefit from this program?
I think so. And you take softball, for instance, and I think it might be a good idea if there might be some eligibility rules for varsity baseball and softball players who are playing, of course, fast pitch. This would be slow pitch softball. And I'm thinking maybe athletes who are on the baseball and softball teams for that school wouldn't be the athletes necessarily who'd want to compete in this, or you could even have a rule that they wouldn't be competing in it.
What about, in your article you mentioned how Minnesota's been a leader and pioneer in many other sports and public funding. Why do you think Minnesota is the right place to create a program like this? I
feel we have the best high school league program in the country, and I've seen some other ones in my travels, and the attendance at our events, the Prep Bowl, which we just had, the state boys hockey tournament, which sells out with 19,000 people every year. There's high interest in the state track meet here. The state cross country meet, which I was at a few weeks ago, attracted 7,000 fans. This is the premier program in the country as far as participation. I think it's the premier program in terms of event management by the high school league. They just do a tremendous job. And I'm not necessarily wanting to put more on their plate. I just think they would be the ones to do this and do a great job with it.
In your mind, ideally, when would you see these programs implemented into the schools?
I would say maybe a couple years from now. I think it's something to discuss. Maybe there could be some local meetings to gauge the interest level. Coaches and athletic directors would have to get behind this, and I think they would, once they heard it explained and heard that there wouldn't be a problem with facilities conflicts. That's why I'm proposing softball in the fall when those softball fields aren't in use. Proposing volleyball in the spring when the gyms are largely not in use. Bowling would be the one event that would be held off campus, and I think that would be a win-win for both the bowling lanes around here and for the high school athletes. And getting the use out of those facilities right after school, let's say 3 or 3:30 the bowling would start. It would be done by 5:30 so the adult leagues could come in afterwards.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.